You guys, welcome back. Today we're going to visit with Destiny Within, and she's going to share her Ozempic story. Tell me down in the comments what you would think if this happened to you.
Hello, everybody. Today, I'm in bed and I want to document everything that I'm feeling, that I'm considering doing, and vent. For the past, I'm going to say 3 days, I haven't been eating no candy. I haven't been overeating. I've been really been doing really good. I had lost 8 pounds in 3 days. Wow. So I told myself I am going to maintain eating healthy. I'm not going to eat no fruits. I'm not going to eat no carbs. I'm going to eat nothing but protein and vegetables and exercise. So when I'm able to, when my joints allow me to move the way I want to move, I'm going to work out. But when my body won't allow me to do what I want to do, I'm going to the pool and do some pool exercises. I let myself go, but when life throws curveballs, baby, sometimes it's hard to get back on track. I've been sick. I was on Ozempic medication shot, the weekly shot, and I was on that for like a year. And it got to the point where I was throwing up constantly. I couldn't keep nothing down. It got to the point where my levels in my blood was like low. I went to the emergency room in St. Luke's Hospital because I was in severe pain. I was throwing up and I was scared. They tested me and they said that my levels are really high. And he said, I'm glad you came in today because you could have died. They admitted me and I was in the hospital for, I want to say like 3 days because I wanted to leave. I felt like I'm able to leave. I'm in pain still, but not to the point where I'm in severe pain because I had a toddler at home. And I wanted to get back to my baby. I know you have to take time out to take care of yourself, to make sure you're okay, because if you're not okay, the people that you need to take care of won't be okay.
So this is a real tough, scary situation. She's taking Ozempic, and I believe she had been taking it for a year. And then all of a sudden she had this situation where she's throwing up, she's got stomach, and I'm assuming pain when she's trying to go to the bathroom. I don't know what she's talking about with her levels. If any of you guys know a little bit more about Ozempic, maybe you can share what you think she's talking about. But either way, she's not feeling too well. But even though it sounds like they wanted her to stay at the hospital a little bit longer in order to be with her child, she decided to kind of get out of there. I think she would have been better set to stay there a little bit longer. But now it sounds like she's in the hospital now because every couple of seconds I can hear a beeping. If you can hear that as well, let me know.
So I went home. I lost 80 to 85 pounds, me throwing up from Ozempic. And they say Ozempic is supposed to make you lose weight. It made me lose weight. It really did, but I couldn't keep nothing down. I was dizzy. I was lightheaded. I was having chills. I was horrible.
So this is what I don't understand, because I agree with her. Every time in my life I've ever felt nauseous, I probably lost a couple pounds because I didn't want to eat a thing. And when I have the flu where I'm feeling nauseous for days on end, I probably lose 5, 6, 7 pounds because, again, I don't want to eat. And a lot of these people, they don't want to eat, but they talk about how they're throwing up all the time. I would imagine that a lot of people will lose weight like that.
When it comes to keeping food down, no. Medication, no. And see, I'm on medication, so it was hard to keep my medicine down. Nothing will work. It got to the point where every week, I was going to the clinic every week because I was doing a trial. And the nurse said to me, you lost 10 pounds pounds in a week. Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just been throwing up, you know. And then the following week, I lost additional 7 pounds. So me losing weight like that was like, okay, this is a good thing. It's really a good thing because I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. So I was like, yes. But the way I was losing it was like not healthy. It wasn't healthy at all. So I was scared. And it took a year, a little bit over a year for me to figure out what was going on with me. I went to St. Luke's Hospital and the ER doctor told me that the medication I was on, Ozempic, was causing me to throw up. It was jacking up my system and everything. So he said, I need you to discontinue the medication ASAP. We're going to admit you. We're going to get your pain under control. We're going to make sure you can eat. And we're going to put an IV in you because you are dehydrated. Yeah. So that's what they did. And once I started, I was able to eat. It's like I couldn't stop. I could not stop eating. When you don't eat for 1 year, you guys, and when I finally get to eat, get a taste of the first meal that I'm able to hold down, and then on top of that, it was stress. I was stressing. Life won't stop. Okay, life, your issues, your problems, it's not gonna go away. Okay, so I was lacking the area of me sitting up here. I needed therapy. I needed someone to talk to so I can sort out my emotions and, you know, how I'm feeling inside. What I was doing was I was overeating, eating things I should not have eaten. It got to the point where my pants that fit me really, really loose, it's like they were starting to get tight. I gaining weight. But y'all listen, I was getting thicker in my clothes, but the scale was saying the same weight. So I think the problem is that the food that I was bringing into my body was making me lose. No, it was making me gain fat. I was losing the muscle that I had. And I was gaining fat. And then to the point where when the fat was overtaking the muscle, I don't know. Let me stop. But so I gained all my weight back. Well, not all, because I was 365. And then I went to my diabetic doctor and he said, well, you need to lose some weight. And he's the one who put me on Ozempic. So I went from 365 and I got down to 223 pounds. I think I actually lost a lot more.
So she sounds a little groggy right now. And she might have some medication going through her, right, to make her a little bit out of sorts. But it sounds to me like she lost about 140 pounds on Ozempic. But you heard her say earlier, she feels like she lost a lot of that simply because she could never keep food down. So fast forward, they tell her to get off the Ozempic, right? Because she needs to get off it because of these horrible side effects she's having. So she gets off it, and then almost immediately her clothes start to feel tighter, but the scale's not showing that it's gone up or anything. So I don't know if that's her regaining muscle, or maybe she was starting to regain additional flab or fat, right? But either way, it sounds to me like she's starting to gain back, if not all the weight, a lot of it back. So again, if you're contemplating going on Ozempic, just know that it sounds like something that you're probably going to have to stay on long term, regardless of what anybody tells you.
I'm on the weight loss journey again, but I need to learn how to cope with stress. So I wouldn't overeat. And I noticed that carbs and sugar that make me crave, salty and sugary stuff. So that's the reason why I'm letting the fruit go. I'm letting the bread go. I'm letting all of that go. And I have lost some weight. So my goal is to become a better version of myself in 2024, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Again, she might be a little groggy. One of her fans says, "Cousin, I too took Ozempic for 1 year. It was okay. And then I stopped taking it for 3 months and decided one day to start again. Worst decision ever. I should have started back at a low dose, but I kept with my 1 milligram dosage. This was about 3 weeks ago. I had the worst headache. My blood sugar was low. I was shaking and felt nauseous 24/7. Not to mention, I felt like I was going to faint. And when I didn't take Ozempic, I gained 17 pounds in 3 months. So, again, if you're taking Ozempic, I wish you all the best success. They probably want you to walk, so I would love for you to walk with us. But if you haven't taken Ozempic yet, you're just kind of contemplating it. Before you do take it, why don't you take walks with us? It's a great natural way to lose weight and gain health. So, with that being said, everybody, let's go get our shoes. Let's go for a walk. Good morning, Ventors. You guys remember yesterday we saw the peacock and I said, I bet you tomorrow, which is now, I said, I bet tomorrow I'll be telling you how weird the day was. It didn't get weird at all. The only weird part was just the peacock yesterday. But it was so nice to see that peacock regardless. Good morning, how are you?
Good, thanks, how are you?
Good, good. I wonder if she just has a crazy amount of red shirts. Either way, the red Ventor, LeBeau. So, I have sad news to report that you guys already know about, I'm sure. I heard the last couple of days they've been talking about this 17-year-old son of Rwandan immigrants in Southport, which I believe is in the UK. I guess he stabbed a couple of children and a couple of adults, or quite a few children and quite a few adults, I should say, at a Taylor Swift dance academy or, dance school. And I just think that's so sad. Golly, we have so many sad moments in this world, and they make the news, rightfully so. I mean, it would be a shame if something like that didn't make the news, but at the same time, it's just very, very sad. I hate whenever I hear stories of young people's lives being snuffed out because, when you are born into this world where because of medicine and advancements in science and technology, we're able to live, basically as long as we have ever been able to live, right? There's a lot of people that make it into their 80s, 90s, and 100s. And when you hear stories of kids losing their lives before they even reach the, age of adulthood, it just seems really, really sad. So if this story has been affecting you and making you feel miserable, I'm sorry for your pain, and for the parents and family members out there, our prayers and our hearts go out to you. I just don't know what to make of this world that we live in. The thing here in the States, because we have a lot of people that have guns, you have people that want to get rid of the guns. And the reality is, guys, is when it comes to people that have bad intentions, whether it be literally they just have evil hearts or whether it's mental illness, it doesn't really matter what the weapon is. They're going to find a way to use the weapon. So, if you take away someone's gun, they're still going to use the knife. I can't help but think that maybe we're going the wrong way on this. Maybe the real way to protect the world is to get to the point where, we just start arming everybody.
I know that sounds crazy because it's like, hey, wait a minute, Jesse. I don't think a school full of kids would have been able to do anything. But you know what? There was probably a couple of adults there, and I know in England, it's not like you're going to start arming everybody. But man, I'm telling you, I think we might be going about this the wrong way. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get weapons out of the hands of people that are going out of their way to do bad things. And guys, you know as well as I do, when people go out of their way to do bad, there's not much you can do to stop that. But one thing we could potentially look into is there a way to defend everybody on an individual level? What if we got to a point where maybe we were okay with kids having a little bit of pepper spray on their keychain? Could something have been done if one of those little kids or one of those adults in there could have had a little bit of pepper spray on a keychain? Could we do something if maybe people had individual alarms so that they could open a door and hit an alarm on their keychain and get people's attention? It just seems like, once again, our ideas are always reactionary. What on the video they were talking about today, they were talking about, well, you can't do anything about knives, keeping knives out of people's hands, because they were talking about how in America we're trying to pass these gun reform and gun control laws. And the reality is you can't keep knives and stuff out of crazy people's hands, So it's like, you're never going to be able to make a law that gets rid of murder. You're never going to be able to do that. So my thinking is, sometimes we have to say, I think our way of thinking is wrong. I think what we ought to do is have a situation where we arm everybody, where we teach, and you guys are going to get upset about this, but at the same time, keep in mind, it's a discussion. Don't get upset with me by unsubscribe. I don't want to walk with you anymore. We have to come up with ideas. Okay, so here's the idea. What if we get everybody as early as 5th, 6th, 7th grade where they actually do take a course in self-defense? We get them into a situation where they do 3 years of wrestling or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or boxing, or how about all of the above? So we get people to the point where they all know some sort of martial art, and they all have a minimum of 3 or 4 years of this martial art. How about within that martial art, we try to train them, even if it's as impossible as it sounds, maybe we try to train them in how to disarm somebody if they have a club or a spear or a knife or a machete. There's got to be something we can do to defend everybody a little bit better. Maybe we have a situation where every building, has a canister of pepper spray, no different than every building having a fire extinguisher. Maybe we should have something like that. Maybe we should have these rooms. Have you ever seen these rooms where they'll show a crook come in with a gun and he tries to get some money from the cash register, and the cash register guy will hit a button and all of a sudden bulletproof glass comes down and the front door locks and the person's locked in there? Why don't we start doing that technology for a lot more buildings? Start making it where, okay, if you're a thief or if you're somebody that's going in with weapons to attack the public, the public's going to have some stuff at their disposal, to maybe help defend themselves. All right, super quick. Let's talk about extra credit. We're going into the second half of the 90-day challenge, and even though it doesn't seem like we work out very much, we work out every single day. And if you're drinking water and cutting down on your sugar, the only thing left to do is extra credit. But Jetchy, what is extra credit? Well, Bob, I'm glad you asked. When we walk half hour each day, that's wonderful, fine, and dandy. But there are moments throughout the night, or the rest of the day, I should say, and evening, where it wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and get outside and take another 20-minute walk. And if you can do this a couple of times a week, all of a sudden you're really going to kill a lot more extra calories. And more importantly, it's good for your heart. Get outside and start walking. Sometimes the walk after work, when you've gone through the stress of dealing with Dale and Karen all day, or maybe you had a situation like this morning where we were all kind of waking up to hear that sad news about the guy that attacked the kids, right? With the knife and stuff. So again, sometimes you have one of those tough days at work, or you might have even had the best work day you've had in a long time. But either way, if you need to get outside and walk some aggression off, it's perfect for that. Or if you're really elated and you need to kind of calm down, get outside and get some of that energy directed towards your walk. My favorite walks are the extra credit ones, because when I walk in the morning, it's just one of those things that I always do, but I don't necessarily always take it a second or third walk. But what I'd like for you guys to do going into the last half of this 90-day challenge is join me in doing extra credit. That's what makes it possible to go from losing 2 or 3 pounds a month to all of a sudden having that nice month where you lose 8 or 9 pounds, maybe even 10. And if you can string together back-to-back months of doing extra credit, all of a sudden you'll notice that 90 days from the starting point, you're starting to look like a much different human being. And keep in mind, if you've been walking with me for the last 45 or 46 days, you're kind of becoming a walker now. And when you're a walker, it's no big deal to say, hey, John, you want to walk with me to the grocery store? Hey, Patsy, you want to walk with me to the park? Get outside with your spouse, with your significant other. Ask your son or daughter if they want to go take a walk to the park. And if you have kids or grandkids, tell them to bring a basketball and see if they want to shoot some hoops. And then when you go there, walk around the park while they play. Or if you decide you want to play with them, actually bounce the ball, Patsy, and shoot a shot. Kids love that stuff. I don't think adults remember that when you're a kid, and you talk your mom and dad and your Uncle Bill into shooting hoops with you, God, that is the best, right? Well, now your Uncle Bill, Patsy, get the ball, shoot a couple shots, and try to win. And if you're outside swimming, playing Marco Polo, don't be that aunt that just sits there pretending like she's closing her eyes. Try to get those kids. Make them really compete. It's good for them to actually try to, hustle in life. That's got to be a good thing. Now, the one thing I noticed, because keep in mind, it's probably 105 degrees right now, but the sun is at an angle where it barely gets you. It's mainly shade, and in the shade, it really does feel about 5 or 6 degrees cooler, and it's actually really enjoyable. So again, if you have a morning where maybe you hear some news that's a little depressing or it gets you irritated, go for a walk at lunch. If you have a tough day at work, after lunch with Dale and Karen, go for a walk when you get home. And if you see a movie that scares you, go outside and go for a walk instead of watching those scary movies. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful time. I just wanted to let you know that I actually am enjoying my third walk today, because when I got off of work, I went to the gym and I walked for about 40 minutes on the treadmill. Then I came home and I noticed, hey, it's a little windy. There's some good shade going on. I'm gonna go ahead and go outside real quick and take a quick little walk. And guys, it's good for you. So in case you're wondering, let's go back to day 1 real quick. We asked you, or I should say I asked you, to do a food audit, find out what you're eating. Then I asked you to try pondering the idea of joining me by walking for 10 or 15 minutes each and every day right before you got in your car to go to work. Hopefully after a week or so of that, I was able to talk you into making that 10 or 15 minute walk a half-hour walk. And by the way, if you've never walked with us, just me recapping this is going to give you an idea of what our plan is. Because our plan is not something I can just spit up at you on day one. It's something that you have to kind of let marinate. So we get up to the point where we're walking a half hour each day, and we know what our diet is. Then we start to incorporate water. What do you mean? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Bob, we're gonna drink a glass of water with our food, okay? And we're also gonna start to try to cut back on sugar. So if you're drinking 4 or 5 soda pops every single day / night, let's cut that down to 2 or 3. And hopefully, since we're not on day 1, we're on day 46 or 47, hopefully we've already gone through that. So now the way we kind of proceed further and further is we make those 2 or 3 sodas 0 or 1. It's time to really cut those down here for the last month and a half. Remember, it's kind of like a sporting game. If you know you're losing at halftime, which technically we are losing the game right now at halftime, that means you have to hustle so you can hit your goal at the end of the game, which is to win. So again, if you're doing a second challenge with me, remember, we're not just walking for the sake of walking. We're doing these things to better our health. And look at how nice the guy that does graffiti managed to graffiti up this nice house. Gosh, those things get me so irritated. But let's try to stay positive since it's our extra credit walk. So anyway, imagine if all of a sudden for this last half of this 90-day challenge, imagine if all of a sudden you guys were doing an extra credit walk 4 or 5 days a week, maybe even 7 days a week sometimes. All of a sudden, instead of a half hour a day, you're walking closer to an hour a day. And if you're doing half of that before work and half of that in the evening, my God, you're starting to become athletic. Well, maybe not, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I feel like $1,000,000 out here. I've got a ton of energy. It's a real great way to get rid of the calories from the food that you just ate. So if you're finishing up your dinner right now and it's not too dark and scary outside, why don't you and your significant other get your shoes on and go for a walk? A cool thing about the extra credit walk is because I've had the whole day to kind of wake up and get food in me and get energized and get hydrated with water, I notice I walk a little faster in the afternoon. You might notice that same thing. Another thing is you got to get to a point where the walk must go on, right? If you ask me, Mala, Sean, Lily, we all usually say the walk must go on. So what does that mean? Well, if you missed your walk in the morning and maybe you didn't have the best lunch time where you could actually get out and go walking at lunch, well, you owe it to yourself to get your walk in the evening. Get to the point where the one thing that never changes is your walk. Keep going. You can do this. You've got this. Remember, I can do this. You can do this. We can do this. Let's do this. So we're going to get to the point where our sodas are 0 going into the last 30 days. So you have 2 weeks to wean yourself down and make that happen, okay? You don't have to do it in one day, but you've had 45 days to cut it down, and just because I haven't mentioned it every single day doesn't mean that you can't do it. Remember, I can't force you to walk. I can try to hypnotize you into walking by getting you addicted to it, right? But you still have to ultimately make the choice to get up and walk. Why do I mention that? Because when you take the extra components of cutting out soda for water, that's a choice that you have to ultimately make too. And if you decide to take it full bore and get rid of the sugar, which I'm gonna do here for this last 45 days with you, we gotta make that decision to do it sooner rather than later. So will there be a little irritability? Sure. Will you be craving sweets? Of course. But we can do this. And remember, if you tell yourself, hey, I'm going to get off the sugar here for the next 45 days, hopefully during that time we can drop enough weight where all of a sudden you feel like you're in a new version of yourself. Yay! Let's do this, boys and girls. Another thing that we're going to be doing in the next 2 weeks, Mala, if you're already doing this, you don't have to listen to this, but if you've been slacking, I'm going to start up the 7:30 club again. Not that it hasn't been going, because I know some of you guys have been obeying it, but I'm going to officially start it up for myself again here in 2 weeks. So if you guys want to do that with me, it's just basically a support group we have where we're agreeing that after we eat our dinner at 7 or so, we're not going to eat after 7:30. Another thing that I always recommend that I haven't talked too much about is I really think for your breakfast, you should cut out the bacon and eggs and the cereal for plain oatmeal, because the plain oatmeal is something that you can kind of ditch out on every now and then because it's not the best. When you eat good breakfast like bacon and eggs or Captain Crunch, your body naturally craves that in the morning. And when when whoever cooked the meal comes up to you and says, "Hey, do you want this extra egg and this extra bacon?" It's real easy to say yes. But nobody ever says yes to a second serving of plain oatmeal. So again, I urge you, go buy yourself a box of plain oatmeal. Eat one packet. If you're still hungry, eat a second packet. But believe me when I tell you, you're not going to want to eat oatmeal after 2 or 3 days. So what it'll do is by the time you're 3 or 4 days into it, you should be able to start slowing down on your morning consumption of food. Remember, this is one of those plans where I'm not a big fan of calorie counting. But if we know that each soda is 150 calories, and if we start cutting those out of our life, you can easily do the math and see, hey, that's a lot of calories that we're not putting into our system. And if you can do extra credit walks, all of a sudden you start to see the beauty of our plan. You're eating less calories or consuming less, right? And then you're burning more. What's going to happen with that, Jesse? Well, Bob, I'm glad you asked. It's going to make it where you can lose 15, 20, sometimes 30 pounds over the course of 90 days. And remember, we're already halfway through it. It goes quick. And guess what we're going to do right when we're done? We're going to start over and do it again. Guys, this is really a train. It's a train that rides every single day. And you have a choice. Do I want to go to the train and get on and walk every single day, or do I not? The reality is, this is the best plan for people as we age. Just get on the walking train every day. I will be here to walk with you. Six-pack Sean will be here to walk with you. Mala the Magnificent will be here to walk with you. Long Walk Lily and the rest of the bunch will be here. Ken Wang will be urging you to eat protein to get rid of the cravings. And as a team, we are the Ventors, and we're unstoppable. And then we got Imogen and Kate Dean in England. We are a worldwide force. Unstoppable. So again, guys, don't be afraid to make right now the day that you decide to put your shoes on and start your first walk. And if you've been walking, don't be afraid to make right now the day where you go outside and do some extra credit. Find a way to make walking your absolute favorite hobby. I mean, unless you have a hobby that you love, but you got to add it to your life in some way, shape, or form. Find a way to really enjoy it. If every time you walk it's super hot and annoying, maybe try walking in the evening when it feels, a little bit nicer outside. I love the walk. Sean loves the walk. Mala loves the walk. Lily loves the walk. If you can get to the point where you don't look at it like exercise at all, God, you're really going to be ahead of the game. This is a proactive plan. Do you remember in Karate Kid when Danielson went up to Mr. Miyagi and he said, "I'm tired of doing all your chores. I want to learn karate." You did learn karate, Danielson, not from the Y, a good school. You remember that, right? Well, the reality was Mr. Miyagi was teaching him how to sand the floor and all these different moves that when you were watching the movie, it blew you away because it's like, wow, Mr. Miyagi just taught Danielson how to fight and got his, his fence painted at the same time. That's why movies when I was growing up were so much better than the movies now. Now you guys go watch Wolverine and, you know, that other guy, right, Deadpool, and you think you've watched the best movie ever, when in reality we had average movies in the 80s and 90s that were better than today's movies. So anyway, why do I bring up Karate Kid? Because even though it doesn't look like we're doing much more than babbling about stories here, in reality, I'm getting you to develop your walking muscle. Your walking muscle needs to be strong, and the best way to do that is to walk every day. And guess what a side effect is from the walking muscle being strengthened? You get healthier, you lose weight, you start to hit your goals. Why? Because this is what we did when we were young and skinny. We walked to and from school every day. It's time to get back into that. Let's do this. Are you with me or what? Ventors for life. Let's go. We got this. We are unstoppable. Put your shoes on, John. Let's go. Bob, where are you at? Let's do this. Have a wonderful evening. Remember, extra credit, lower the sugar, increase the good stuff, decrease the bad stuff. We got this.